Friendly Fire Show. It's episode 187. This is an experimental podcast, really, because you may or may not be watching this live streamed on Twitch, twitch.tv/Stevivor. Or you might just be listening to it in your podcast platform of choice, or you might just be watching it later on YouTube. And Ben, this might go catastrophically wrong and it might not even record. So maybe this is like a lost episode in the same vein of when like I got Tano and Shane and you and I, and we all recorded a podcast episode that wasn't actually recorded. Anyway, I digress. I am Steve Wright, and joining me, of course, is one of my amazingest, bestest friends, Ben Salter. How are you? Hi, Ben.
Good to be here, Steve. Do you know how old this show is and how old we are? Because when we first started this, there is no way there was technology to go live. Am I saying that right?
I don't think Twitch existed. Or did it?
No,
Probably did.
We used to sit in the same room. Can you imagine that? How retro, and have like a desk, someone like mixing the levels, not using like a computer to do it. And it was like, there's no way we could have done this. And the episode would go out like weeks later, I think, was, a different time.
Yes, and so and Shane did it a lot better than me. That's not the Shane that I'm about to say hi to, because hi, Shane. Shane Bailey is in the chat saying it's alive. It's maybe alive. We'll see how this goes. You can probably see that I've not quite gotten things quite right, so randomly Steve is Ben and Ben is Steve, but you know, I'm that one and Ben's that one. And thanks for joining us. And Jay, hi Jay. Hopefully this goes okay. So now
we got it wrong, because it's like a great first attempt to be like, if this ever goes well in the future, you can reference back to that time when you stuffed it up the first time. But it's great.
Shane's probably watching this just going, oh my God, what is he doing? There's so many better ways to do it. And that's probably true. But anyway, that's not the point. It's a huge week or fortnight in video games. This being the middle of October, because I forgot to say what time period this episode was for. It's mostly going to be reviews, I reckon. And I think I want to start with you, Ben, because you did double duty, really. You got to check out the Switch OLED edition, and you got to check out Metroid Dread. Do you want to start with the console first? Probably makes sense to do that. All right.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, there it is, up there in the box. That's the new fancy OLED box, and that's basically it. It looks very slightly different. So when I got this thing, I kind of thought, it's such a small upgrade that I didn't know it was worth it for that $70 price increase. And it just, what are we, 5 years into the Switch's life cycle? I wasn't sure that it was something that's really worth getting. But it's a classic. Now that I played it, there's no way I can go back. So you and I are both OLED TV guys. Whenever anyone comes over and sees it, they're amazed by it. So thin, looks so good. And it's, they cost a lot of money, any OLED display. So that's why the price has gone up. Same with phones that have OLEDs in them now. Like, it's just, they come with the premium cost. But besides that, there's no upgrade. So there were so many rumors that we're going to get a Switch Pro, something that could potentially output in 4K and was going to make all these games, which, let's face it, some of them run pretty sluggishly on Switch, especially third-party games that are really pushing it to its limit. Like, this is a pretty old chipset now. And it didn't turn out to be that. So it was whether that was the original plan and it was meant to be an OLED with a better chipset and a 4K model, and just COVID happened and this magical chip shortage that means you still can't get a PS5 or an Xbox Series X affected that. I think there's potentially some truth to that, because there's still rumors that this upgraded console is coming in a couple of years, and maybe they changed plan and they went with an OLED screen. No matter what happened, I think it's worth it if you're a handheld player. So if you only play TV mode and you want to play it like a console, there's no difference at all, except you go from 32 gig to 64 gig, like a pittance of different storage amount. If you play handheld, there's no going back, because it looks so good. The screen size goes from 6.2 to 7 inches. Like, on paper, that doesn't sound like any difference at all, but it just feels the border. Basically, there's that massive bezel on the original Switch, and they've gotten rid of that. So it grabs you so much more. It kind of pulls you, and you can kind of see it in the picture, like behind me, if you're watching the screen. Like, it's that small little, tiny little border, but it makes a huge difference. The colors pop, the contrast looks so much better. And it just feels better. Like, they're using a high quality plastic. The screen is covered in glass instead of plastic, so it just looks better. It feels a little bit more premium. Nintendo said something like the Joy-Con have updated joysticks or something, which is them not admitting that there was a problem with the analog sticks on the Switch, and there was a drift issue, and they've now fixed that.
I thought they only fixed it a little bit. I thought the drift was still possibly a possibility.
Possible. I haven't really had that as a big deal, but I suppose I have a few set of Joy-Cons, so maybe that's why I haven't noticed it, and I change around, so maybe that's why. But yeah, in short, I think you know if you want to get this console or not because Nintendo have done this with every handheld. They've released an incremental upgrade. They did it with like the Game Boy to the Game Boy Color. They did it with, or the Game Boy Pocket is the better example actually before that. They did it with the GBA to the SP, just a different model, but the same thing more or less. They did it with the DS to the DS Lite, like 3DS to 3DS XL. So there's a precedent. They've done it before. They've released the model, which is probably more for the people who already have it. Like a lot of people, when I saw the previews go up, said like, if you were buying a Switch today, it's the obvious one to get. I'm not sure I agree with that necessarily because it's the most expensive one. I think it's for people who already have a Switch who are not going to miss those Nintendo first-party games or many of them. The people who have been holding out, you can probably get an original Switch for pretty cheap soon. Like they'll go on sale. I reckon they'll drop down below what they had before. So maybe that's where they should go. But I think it is for people like me. The better battery is a big deal too, because the launch model has a terrible battery in it. So this thing actually lasts. I can sit on the couch while MasterChef is on, and it won't go flat. So yeah, I think it's worthwhile if that's you. Otherwise, potentially not.
Did you in the old days handheld or dock play more often?
So early days, like Breath of the Wild, first year probably was a genuine 50-50 because of the novelty of it, and it was what I wanted and it was different. But I thought something like Breath of the Wild needed a TV, so it was for kind of the other games that I played handheld. And as it went on, like my original Switch has a big crack in the back of it. So like, and that's a common problem just of how it was made. Like it just stresses over time. So I didn't really want to use it handheld that much more, just in the plastic casing on the back.
Like
Um,
where? Like if that's the Switch, where was the how? Where does it
it's like along the back, like
like
diagonally, and it's
that
like
way?
diagonal up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's horizontal.
Between the
I'm good.
screws, you can see why it's happened. Like it's just how the screws are in there. So I think that's hopefully won't happen. But anyway, that did stop me playing handheld to a degree, and did the poor battery life. Like it didn't last long enough because I'm a lazy person. I'd play it for half an hour, then I'll just put it down on the coffee table and not dock it again, and the next night it's drained. And that hasn't been a problem with the OLED because it just lasts so much longer. But if you got that 2019 refresh, which they didn't really announce, that has the same better battery life. So no advantage if you're coming from that. But yeah, now I've definitely gone back to playing Metroid Dread, probably 50-50 again.
Okay. And did you think that's gonna keep up, or
Let's tell.
is it the novelty again because it's like a pretty screen and
Could
stuff?
be different life situation, I suppose. Like now, we used to more often split and watch different TVs, but just having a 5-month-old puppy, pretty much someone needs to be with him all the time. So it's easier to have two people and not pay attention to the TV and play Switch. So that's what I've been doing recently. Also because the game I've been playing is on Switch, so it's a bit of both, I'd say.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, like I like the idea of it. I think like because I just need to turn it back to Xbox somehow, Ben. I think if it had like a browser, that would be and they could make the Joy Cons work. I don't know if that would work. That would just like be a really
Mm.
neat like Game Pass machine, or they could just like Microsoft could just ask Nintendo if they could put a Game Pass machine on this damn Switch, and then like I would almost get
Not
one,
gonna happen.
especially with like the new phone I have that doesn't work with a backbone, and like it's like I don't have a mobile thing, and that would be like the little extra incentive to get a new Switch because it's
Not
not
gonna
like
happen.
the new Zelda game is going to be an OLED edition only one. It's the same Switch. It's like a better battery life and the screen's prettier on handheld, but it's like it's still a Switch. So like it just
That's
feels
it.
like if you're getting an Xbox One X over an Xbox One, like you're getting more power when you're deciding to buy it. Like this is just like
Yeah.
a screen.
It's probably more the closer comparison is probably you bought a regular iPhone and you decided you wanted the bigger model. Like you're getting more or less. I mean, I know there's a power upgrade with and a battery upgrade often with those, which there is here too. So it's more like that. You're getting something very similar, but you just decided a different variant is what you want, and that would be because you're a hardcore phone user, right? Like you have value in that. So it's that same type of person. I will say Nintendo's lineup, whether it was a coincidence or whether they've done this intentionally, feels very handheld this year.
Mm.
So Metroid, which we'll talk about in a second, you've got Pokemon, which is very handheld. You've got Advance Wars, which was originally a Game Boy game. It just feels very like the style of game feels suited to handheld more than something like a Mario Odyssey or a Breath of the Wild, which feels more console. So uh, it works out from that point of view.
And then Mario Party had to go and ruin it. because that's clearly a
Yeah.
TV with a Joy-Con each game. But that's beside the
That'd,
point.
that'd be tough in tabletop mode, but yeah.
Well then, okay. So now with the console out of the way, how was Metroid? I know how it was because I've read the review, but like tell people who aren't me
Yeah, that's it.
how it was, Ben.
Uh,
Thanks.
Absolute banger, Metroid Dread. So I'm shocked at how good it is. Like, so Mercury Steam developed this in collaboration with Nintendo, who I think more just produced, kind of overlooked it. And so this is their second Metroid. They did Samus Returns on 3DS, I think 4 or 5 years ago, which is a remake of Metroid 2 from the Game Boy. And they did a good job with that. But it came out at a time when the Switch had been out for about 6 months or so, and just going back to that 3DS screen, it was hard to sell. Like, we're just going back to this blurry old gaming. You've just treated us to HD handheld gaming. And it was a bit safe at times. So the bones of this game is that, like, the core things they introduced there are here again, but they've gone to a new level. So the design actually was apparently done for the DS like 15 years ago, but it just wasn't powerful enough, and they've kind of kept the theme. I'm sure it's evolved since then. And the main thing is Samus moves really well. Like, I played pretty much every Metroid game, and she's never moved and controlled like this. Like, it's so quick, and it just suits it so well. So it's an actual Metroidvania game. And we haven't had a new one for 19 years. So the last one was Metroid Fusion on Game Boy Advance. It's a bit annoying that there's no way for you to easily play that right now. Like, it's one of like the 4 Game Boy Advance games I have. So I actually just spent $300 on buying like a modded Game Boy Advance that is apparently coming soon with like a backlit screen, because I was like, there's no way I'm not going to cash converters and playing on a dodgy old Game Boy screen. So that was a bit of a splurge. Instead of buying an OLED Switch, maybe I shouldn't have bought that. Hopefully it looks good on that, because I want to play Fusion again because of this game. So yeah, it's great. Like, just the combat, the exploration is really good. Surprisingly difficult initially, so you constantly power up, probably too many power ups. But they stack on top of each other, so you don't really have to remember it, and it's so satisfying when it all comes together. Especially these boss battles. So I'm not a Souls man at all, as you know, Steve, but and it's nothing like that. Yeah. Especially Bloodborne. It's nothing like that at all, really. I know there were some comparisons, but it's not really that style of game. It's more of it's genuinely challenging, and you will die a lot, especially in the boss battles, but it's all pattern. So as soon as you realize what to do for one part of it, and you'll just breeze past it, but then the next bit will destroy you. So one boss will probably kill you like 30 times, but you won't get frustrated because you see yourself improving, except for maybe the very last boss, because that is a real doozy, and it'll take you hours to get through that one. But the others, if you're a pleb like me, maybe, yeah, if you know what you're doing, straight through. But yeah, it's that rare game that is challenging but really rewarding at the same time. And how much you want to, there's not really exploration as such, in that it does funnel you along, but there's no waypoints or anything. So it's very like, you need to figure out where to go, look at the map, kind of plot it. If you want to find all the little hidden upgrades you want, you can do that, or you could just try to figure out where to go. And you probably get lost a couple of times, but ultimately you'll get there, and you'll kind of think you found it yourself, but it really kind of guided you there, which is perfect for someone like me. Like, I don't want to get lost for hours. And I know when you played Ori, which is very similar, you were just like, I think you left it for a few days, and you're like, oh, I don't know where to go. Same thing. You're not going to be able to play this game and put it down for a week and pick it up again. Like, you really need to keep playing. Best played, and I've seen pretty much everyone on Twitter has already finished it. It only came out like a week ago, so that's how you need to play this game. And it's only about 10 hours.
Well, yeah. So that's I haven't finished the second Ori game because of, like, as you've just said, like, I just forgot what I was doing and just went, I need to start again, and I don't have time. And Shane is asking if it's like the first Ori, and that there's like huge difficulty spikes, like in escape sequences, like if it's that kind of like up and down type.
No, I wouldn't say
ratcheting.
Not huge spikes. It's quite hard just on the whole, but it kind of goes the other way. Like, it's tough, but then you will figure it out, and all of a sudden it seems easy, because it's whatever you needed to do. It kind of teaches you as you go along, and you get there. If you really wanted to get some of the hidden missiles and stuff, it is very tough, but those are kind of optional. But yeah, the bosses are quite tough.
Okay. Well, I am excited to play it, but also I know I'm not going to have time for the next ever. So we'll see. It might get on the list. Yeah. And also, go ahead.
I would say currently it has just pipped Deathloop and Hitman 3 as my Game of the Year contender. So I think it's definitely leading. And to all these people going, US $60 is you shouldn't pay that for a 10-hour game. That's outrageous. 100, but whatever it is here, $80. Wrong. It's a great 10 hours, and I much prefer that to like a 40, 50, 60-hour grind that I didn't enjoy that much just to get to the end, to feel like I got my money's worth. I think a game you really enjoyed, and it doesn't outstay its welcome. You kind of hit the end, and you're kind of glad you got there, but you enjoy the whole time. So absolutely worth it.
Okay, well, I don't think I get to make this my Game of the Year by any stretch of the imagination, but I would like to, and you probably know what I'm going to talk about already.
Yeah, it
None
can't be
other
Game
than
of the
Alan
Year.
Wake Remastered. I want it to be my Game of the Year. I know it can't be. I know that's stupid. But it's really good. Have you had a chance to play this iteration of it, or no?
No, I played the original. I have not played the remaster.
Fair enough. So I've played this one. I've played the PC release, which is kind of like a half step between the 2010 Xbox 360 release. I have no idea when the PC release came out, but it's not like 4K.
Just in case you're listening, that's why it can't be Game of the Year, because it's game of
come out 3
2010
times.
potentially. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, fine. And it's just really good, Ben. It looks really good. It's difficult. It's atmospheric. It's every amazing bit of storytelling that Remedy is known for. And was the storyline was sort of picked up in Control, and it's like sort of being teased that they're making an Alan Wake 2 or not, or they are, maybe they're not. I can't see why Epic would choose to release this remastered version of a very old, just a 12-year-old game, if that's not a plan to continue this on. Obviously, Control's kicking on with 505. There's Remedy has 50 million games out or in development right now, which is insane. But I'm excited. I think this game's really good. It still holds up. It's sort of aging in ways that just really make Remedy look better as a developer, like showing how they've grown in the last 12 years is a good way to put it, because Control has accessibility options up the wazoo. So if you're very bad at the combat, it's not saying, well, this isn't for you, then you can't play. You can turn it on so it's one hit kills and you're invincible now. And Alan Wake, you had to unlock the Nightmare difficulty, and you had to get certain manuscript pages in the Nightmare difficulty, and it was kind of very no, this is for an elite set of people who can do this. So it's kind of contrary to Remedy's whole design philosophy perhaps at present, but it's really good. The DLC is included. The DLC is not great, to be honest. It's back in the days where I don't think we really knew what DLC was, so there's a lot of reappropriation of assets and trying to make something, and it was a 2-hour experience where I don't think that's DLC anymore. But it's just really good. If you've never heard of Alan Wake, you're insane. You're stupid. I hate you. That's mean. Obviously, you're forgiven, but you should go play this.
Not everyone's as old as you, Steve, so it's an old game.
It's about a writer, and he and his wife go to this very small town, which is very reminiscent of Twin Peaks, which this is why I started watching Twin Peaks, basically, and then this has turned into my entire life now. It's a writer who basically is either writing his own horrible, chaotic experience that's happening around him, or worse yet, he's insane and it's all in his head, and it's about creativity, and it's about the connections around you, and it's really good, and just insanely batshit insane. It's so good. And if you've played Control, you probably have, because everybody's played Control. It was our Game of the Year 2019. That same insane setup, and just everything is incredibly weird, but that's just how it is, so we're all okay with it, and we're just continuing on. We're at the Bureau of Control. I'm writing my own fate. It's great. It's so good. I feel like I'm just fanboying about it, but it is. It's one of those games that's it's remastered, but it's still good. Sorry, I'll shut up.
Well, I suppose there's two sides. So there's, how does a game that old, 12 years old or so, hold up today, which I think you've sold, but it's still a great play from that point of view. And there's as a remaster, what have they done to it to make, the original is back and pat on Xbox. You can play that. You probably already own it. So what makes this worth $50 or whatever it is from a remaster point of view?
More achievements. No. Alan's character model. All the character models are done. Better animations. It's I don't know. It's just all in one package, and it's just nice. Load times are pretty much the same actually, because we did a little comparison, of the 360 game on
Take
360.
that, Digital Foundry.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same, I think.
Close enough. I don't know. Like, you don't need it, but if you are as big of a fan as Alan Wake as I am, and there's a lot of us out there who've been like demanding a sequel, like when Quantum Break came out and everything else, like it's just really nice to jump back in and kind of like you don't have your old save file and you're just like doing it again, and it's just like it's not like one of those Sonic games, or I don't know, that's a bad example. Like another remastered game where you look at it and you go like, oh, I thought it looked like that anyway. Like I don't realize it needed, like it's not like it doesn't look that drastically different. It didn't need a remaster, but it did at the same time. I'm not really selling this, but if you're like a PlayStation person and you've never played it, it's really easy to get it. That's so like if that's the only reason, actually that's it. That's it. That's what I'm siding with. Perfect. And it's selling really well on PlayStation. So there's all these people who've never played Alan Wake, who are maybe like jazzed on the idea of Control, who now understand where it kind of came from, and can see like the direction going forward. And hopefully it just means that there's like a lot of demand for Alan Wake 2. That was a horrible.
Well, I'm excited
but oh well.
I'm having played it a long time ago. I actually can't really remember the story that well. I remember little snippets of it, so that's why I'm going to play it again ultimately.
Do it.
Now, another sequel, which is a bit further on. This is not a sequel, actually. You're talking about a sequel potentially coming for that. One which definitely has a sequel is Far Cry 6, which is an interesting game because I've only played about 3 hours. We should skim past the elephant in the room, which is Luke gave it a 4.5, and that attracted some attention.
I don't know what you mean.
Say that. A couple of memes or something like that. Anyhow, you don't need to meme us. That's fine. And if you read the words there and you check out the scale, it absolutely matched. That was the experience that Luke had, and he nailed it, and he justified why he gave that score, and I can see exactly where it's coming from, even from the short amount that I played. I think I enjoy it a little bit more than him, but still not a great deal. Like I can see why people are disappointed. It feels like a step back from 5. Which I really liked. So it seems more going through the motions and very bland. I'm not really into the characters. There's a just cause element, which is fun. It looks great. It plays pretty well. But yeah, it hasn't really hooked me, and I'm not sure. As I said before, like, do I want to put in the 50-hour slog to get through it? I don't know that I have the motivation, and it's the first mainline Far Cry game that I felt like that for.
Yeah, I've only played probably 3 or 4 hours as well. And in my mind, it's like a solid 5 on our scale, which is just like, Like, I'm not finding it particularly offensive. I liked 5. I played all through 5. I did all the things, but like I don't know why I did that. If I really sit back and think about it, even like 4 to some extent. Like it's just like it's one of those Ubisoft games I think now. It's just like here's a map of 8,000 million things. Pick a thing to do. You want to learn more about Yara? You can't just go and like discover something cool about this place, like that's tucked in a corner somewhere that you can't find. It's like there's an icon for it. Like there's an icon for every single thing. Like it's not offensive. It's just like yeah, like I just don't have any real huge desire to get back into it. Like I will probably, but like I just. Yeah. But the difference between Luke and I is that Luke just doesn't like it. He doesn't want to go back. Like I will eventually. Like he just doesn't want to. And that's sad because on paper this sounds really cool. Like what's his name? Giancarlo Esposito. I've only seen a couple cutscenes that he's in it, but like he seems to be like acting the hell out of it, but also just like he's like mustache twirling a little bit, and you don't really interact with him so far as I know. No. Like you just go and like hit up 18 icons on a map, so that's sad.
But that's been the formula with the baddies. You're Vast, you're Joseph, the other guy, Pagan Min. That's it. Like they're following that same formula time and time again. And even to the point where one of the early missions in this game, you have to kind of flamethrower a bunch of tobacco plants because you've got to take down someone or other. And I was doing it. I was like, didn't I do this in the last game, or was it the game before that? Like the mission being exactly the same, it just feels that that's a problem with being number 6, and it's really more than that. What is like number 10 if you throw in Primal and Blood Dragon and New Dawn? Like it's
Yeah.
far along, and people just reach a point where it's not enough anymore, especially when it feels like a step back in crafting and things like that. It just doesn't have the same characters. Like I like the characters in 5. I like this, the culty setting. And at the time, it's just something I wanted to play. And I can see why people love this game again, because if it arrived as that open world, big bloated map game that you're ready for and you want to play, which 5 did for me, I was ready for it at the time.
Yeah.
I can see why you'd enjoy it, but it hasn't landed at the right time for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's pretty eloquent, Ben. It's yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know what I want to say beyond that. It's a
We can
shame.
move on.
Yeah, and I want to skip the order of what we're doing because it kind of seems like it fits. I want to talk about then, off the back of what you just said, my Forza Horizon 5 preview, because it's kind of like the same thing in that, except though, Horizon's really good. Like, there's no denying Horizon is awesome. It's like stylish, racing, accessible, awesome, super fast, crisp, smooth, awesome. Like, you can't actually fault Horizon for what it is. But playing this, it's like, oh, I'm in a showcase event, racing a airplane. Oh, and I'm losing right until the end, and then randomly, like, it's so rubber banded, I just happen to win because I'm the coolest thing ever. Like, it's still awesome, and you feel really, really good in Mexico now, as opposed to Britain, and as opposed to Australia before that. But like, it's that kind of like that weird feeling in the back of your head of like, I've done this. Why am I doing it again? And like, I don't know, like Turn 10, who I think Forza Motorsport no longer is like the Forza racer. Like, I think it's definitely Horizon that's taken the mantle. But
like, you can't even buy a motorsport. Like, there's not one available. So definitely Horizon.
well, and so like, but they're going the Motorsport game as a service, no number anymore, like platform kind of thing. And like, maybe that's what Horizon will have to do soon, or they're just gonna have to think of like other ways to go out of the box with these like showcase events, which are supposed to be like unique, like groundbreaking, monumental things. One thing I really do like Horizon 3 is my favorite for probably obvious reasons, us being Australians. Like, it's just really neat to be like, oh, there's the 12 Apostles, and there's Byron Bay, and blah, blah, blah.
That's not it. There's a garbage bin that looks like my garbage bin. Like,
there's the phone box that looks like Telstra that's now a Wi-Fi port. It only runs in 30 frames on console. And, like, once you go back, you're just like, oh, this looks horrible. I hate this. So 4 is 60 frames. But 4, I hate 4 because it does that like week to week, like now it's winter, now it's summer, now it's, and like my husband Matt was getting into it, and then it turned to winter, and he's like, I'm not playing this for a week. I'm like, okay, because it is kind of garbage to have to play in winter, and it's like slippery and slidey. It's hate it. So like in this game, at least it's like kind of like cool visuals, and like the Mexican, like kind of like there's different biomes like you had in Australia, and you can go to snow, you can go to the beach, you can go to a desert, you can go here, and it's like all self-contained, and it's not going to just like change on you, which is good. Really fast, really awesome. You can play in 30 or 60 frames. Obviously pick 60, and it's 4K, but like the textures are a little, like, bump up the textures if you go 30 frames. Play in 60 if you can. It's really cool. It's super fun. Like, in the moment, it's just like you have this giant grin on your face until maybe like the rubber banding hits, and you kind of realize like, oh, it's happening again. But like everything else, the PR stunts, everything about Horizon it's really fun. It was really good. So
yeah,
I don't mean to detract from it.
Those showcase events are, I mean, they're in the marketing, but they're pretty rare. Like, it's just a couple of events, really. Most of your time is normal racing or even online racing, where that rubber banding isn't such a big deal. So I'm sure that's why they showed you that moment, because it looks great in the trailer, but it's not what you do a lot of the time in Horizon.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't know how to be as creative as they have been already. But like, like Race a Warthog, oh, done that. Like, they're running out of like really cool like hooks like that, that's not the whole game, but that's That's just what popped out to me when I was playing it. Otherwise, it's like, I'm excited for it. I will play this. It's not like a 5 in my head. Like, I want to jump back in and keep playing, which is good. And I think Shane is right. Shane's like, yeah, it should go full game as a service, and they should just keep adding different locations. And that's the best parts about Horizon. Like, now you go to Legoland, and now you go to Hot Wheels Town, and now you go to Blizzard Mountain, which I guess if you hate winter is a horrible locale to go to, but, you don't have to go to Blizzard Mountain. You can stay in sunshiny Land Town. It's not a place. Have you had a chance to play the Xbox Game Pass launch day title Back for Blood, Ben?
No.
Oh.
No. Not at all.
No, that's not what I was hoping you would say. I have. I'll talk about it.
It came out yesterday. Yeah, you're gonna have to talk about it.
It came out
from the guys who made Left 4 Dead a Back 4 Blood.
Yes. They did Evolve as well, which you may or may not remember because it was like here and then gone. It's good. I like it. It's very much Left 4 Dead, but it has that kind of card-based system thing where you get to play cards and change up the game, and the game director plays a card, puts in fog, so it's really hard to see what's coming, or I don't know. I can't remember all these things. It's just it's Left 4 Dead, but it's slightly modernized. Relies on 4 people teamwork, which can sometimes be its downfall. Like, I just decided to start it this morning, and I had an Australian dude, I think his name was like Aussie Dude 69 or Sexy Aussie
Sounds
69.
great.
Well, and he was like, he had this weird sound clip that was like, "Shut up, you guy!" But he just kept playing it. Like, he was intentionally just being a jerk. So, like, mute. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you that. When I play any game online with other people, random plebs, teammates or not, I mute everyone immediately. I'm not interested in chatting with any randoms because they're always just the worst. So Can I do that and still play effectively?
So I muted that guy, and then another guy was just like, "Did you just kneel already? I'm sick of trying to shoot around you, mate." I was like, okay, just mute you too. And I wasn't even like in his way. He was talking to the bot, I think, that was teamed up with us because we didn't have 4 players. But like, whatever. Like, it would be fun if you and I and friends played. It would be fun if you just had people who weren't just like toxic idiots. But like, I don't know. It's still fun. Just mute everybody and do your thing and hope you don't get paired with idiots. And if you do, just like jump out and re-matchmake and hope for the best next time. I don't like, that's not Turtle Rock's fault. Making games that require multiplayer is Turtle Rock's fault. But, Shane said this in the chat too. Thanks, Shane. I'm trying to keep up on the chat. I'm bad at this. Evolve was good. It was just like ahead of its time a little bit. Like it was before we were all ready to do this, I think.
Evolve was amazing when we did the press previews because you had the 4 players like on one side of a table and you had the monster on the other side, and all being in one room so you could trash talk after, but you're also all playing seriously because it was, your job to be there and play this game.
Yes.
It was great, and I thought it was going to be amazing having played it like that, but that was not the real world experience. Like, people were just the worst. It was hard to matchmake. People dropped out like mid-game because they weren't happy with you. Like, it just wasn't fun. So that's always the problem with this type of game. Less of an issue when it's a 4-player co-op as opposed to that 4v1 style. But yeah, I mean, I think if you actually have a team of players and you regularly play with them, like you do with your Destiny crew, often, like
Not anymore.
I think, but you've done it before. Like that's the type of, you are able to play like that, and you can get that regular group of people. It's probably fun then, but that's what I always struggle with. So I'll probably be a once and done. We'll probably play it one time, and that'll be me.
The older I get, like, it's just harder. It's like, "Oh, Ben, let's play Call of Duty or something," and like, we say 8 o'clock, and like, my cat vomits or something, so I gotta go and like deal with that, and then like your dog does something, or like, I don't know, like, it just, life gets in the way, and then like it's 8:45 and we haven't played a match yet, but we're just about to, and like we play 2, and then we're just like, I'm done, this is a good night, okay, I gotta go, see ya. It's just hard to gather people together to do it reliably. I guess I'm just an old man who complains, but like, when we were younger, it was easier, but it's not getting better, and we're just getting older, and there's just more things getting in the way of doing it. I'd love to play Back 4 Blood with you. Like, I hope we do. I just, like, we gotta find the time.
Yeah, I think a real special game might drag us in for multiple sessions for a while, and I'm hoping that will be Halo Infinite. But I think the average game it's just hard to get that in, which is why I do like playing, your COD, your Battlefield, stuff like that, because you're on a team, but you don't really have to. It doesn't really matter who you're playing with. Like, yeah, it's much easier than this forced co-op style game for someone like me.
Yes. Well, Hamish really liked it. He gave it an 8.5 out of 10, which aligns with our review scale, but we're like enough. I don't need to keep saying that. Every review we
There's
have
a scale
aligns with our review scale. I like it. I'll keep playing. And like the annoying thing is like I want you to play with me, but like I'm already like I think at Act 2, and like it's that other thing of like I have to wait for you, or I'll just keep going. And anyway, so that's those things are hard, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Good segue though, Ben, because I don't know if you had a chance to play some. I think you did. I at least had a chance to play some Battlefield 2042 as part of that open beta that went up last week.
Yeah, I played enough. I didn't want to keep playing after what I played. So we've had 3 of these like tech tests in the last few weeks. So we had Call of Duty Vanguard, we had Battlefield 2042, and we had Halo Infinite. Halo is by far the best, and it felt the best. It just played the best, grabbed me. Vanguard felt a bit incomplete and like it had a troubled development and a bit unpolished and like it's not quite there yet. But I'm hoping it can kind of all come together at the end. Battlefield just felt like bland and also not done. Like it was by far the worst and the one that left me the most disappointed because Battlefield 1 was amazing and Battlefield 5 also very good. Probably not to that level again, but it was a good follow-up. And this is one it feels a bit in no man's land. Like I'm not really sure what it's trying to do. The best thing I can equate it to is so in Modern Warfare, Call of Duty decided it needed to have like vehicles and a bigger map and more players to compete with Battlefield, and it felt like the poor cousin clone of Battlefield. And it was the first kind of COD mode that just felt like not great and like not ready. And this feels like playing that. So now Battlefield feels like its own poor cousin, and I'm not sure what they're trying to do here.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, so they made this. So, you played in the open beta. I played a couple of days ahead of that in an open beta, not open beta, in a closed beta for journalists. There we go. I know how to use words. And they had like a little presentation before, and they just kept reiterating like, this is a couple months old. This is a couple months old. And then like the open beta came out, and they were like driving that point home. And like part of me just wants to say like, if you are so insistent on this being known that it's not representative of your product, like why are we doing this? Like why is this what you've presented us? So hopefully there's a lot of the things that we're complaining about have been fixed. But yeah, like it's bland is a really good word for it. I don't know if it was the map orbital. It just like was like just generic town, and it was like yeah. And there's like one giant building, and like
I hope for some reason they chose the worst map. I don't know why they would have chosen that for their beta, but I hope so because the others have got to be better than that. Like it wasn't fun. It's boring. So there is, as you said, there's time. Some of the previous, so I think Battlefield 1 and 5 launched okay. It's classic EA games. They needed a little bit of work at launch, but they kind of came together pretty quickly. Battlefield 4, I think, before that, launched pretty dodgy. It was back in that like SimCity time of EA where they just kind of launched things and there were problems. Yeah. And 6 months later, it was a good game. So like they took their time to get it there, but they did get it there. I feel like that's what we're doing again. They probably think they can't delay. It's their big game for the year, so they have to launch, and maybe
they can't delay again. You mean because they already have delayed? Yeah,
that's right. They can't do a big delay. Maybe mid next year it'll be more representative of what they were intending to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it didn't wow me like I'd hoped.
Yeah. Well, So I've written something that's going up tonight, or like early Friday morning on the 15th, 16th, whatever day it is. It's October, right? Yeah. Which obviously I can't say anything about yet, but it's intriguing, the stuff that I can't talk about, and I'm gonna shift off this really quickly before I like make a mistake and we're in trouble. Yeah. Like I don't know. I'm not really excited for COD either, which is weird because like I'm not great at COD nor Battlefield, but like you and I and sometimes even Tano will jump in and play like a COD or a Battlefield, and like I'm not the best, but like I have fun whenever we are playing. And I was playing with Job and Nate Lawrence and like Costa from Oz Gamers. Like I was playing with a bunch of people, and like there was banter and stuff, but it wasn't like that the company was bad. Like the company was great, but it wasn't the same feeling that I'm used to having doing those things, which was like, oh, that's disappointing. I probably had more fun with COD than with Battlefield, and I wasn't playing COD with people. Like, I wasn't talking to people as I was playing, so that's important to have said.
Well, COD's it's like so successful because it's always super polished and like it just feels good to play, and that wasn't Vanguard. So again, it was a beta, it wasn't ready, but normally by that stage, like COD's betas slash tech tests are demos basically to get your money, because you need to pre-order to get in for some of them. So it wasn't at the level we expect. This game also wasn't announced when we normally expect it to be, so it's definitely had a more difficult development. It's meant to come out last year, so. Yeah.
Well, and by far, Halo was the best experience. It was just like really tight gameplay, and I played with you and myself, and it was just like, it was fun playing by myself, and it was fun just like having a chit chat with you and playing big team battle. So, like, I'm in lockdown still. We didn't do lockdown chat, Ben, but like, I don't have a lot of time on my hands, and I have infinite time on my hands, weirdly enough, and I use it to do work, I guess, rather than have fun. But when I do get to have fun, I just want to like have fun with something I want to actually have fun with, and I would play Halo for that, and I wouldn't play those other two right now.
I thought you were going to spin that into I have infinite time for Halo Infinite. Luckily, you were right there. Anyway,
put that on the box or something. What time is it? I can't see my watch, my clock. Oh, it's 9:30. Do we have time to do the tech reviews? Maybe we'll save those for another time. Ben, you
good. You can read those.
All right, good. So I have my Z Fold 3, which I broke the chat on
you're
OBS,
us and
so I have my chat up on my phone because I'm really like a Luddite when it comes to streaming, so I think I'm doing all right. Sigma Bean says the beta was poorly done. See, I am paying attention, and you're right. So I'll talk about that some other time, maybe. And then you have a HyperX Quadcast USB mic that you also reviewed, but they're both on the site, so if you want to read it and not wait for us to talk about them, you can. In news, something that I'm sure is making you excessively happy, Mr. Ben Salter, is Grand Theft Auto the Trilogy was finally sort of detailed, not fully, but like a little bit, and hurrah. Do you want to talk about it?
Well, this would probably be this year's best-selling game, I'm just going to assume. So we don't know. Classic Rockstar, they basically just tweeted it and then didn't tell us anything about it, so the speculation is going wild. Definitive Edition means nothing because so Take-Two, who is the parent company of Rockstar and 2K, they called Mafia 1 Definitive Edition, that was a remake. They called Mafia 2 Definitive Edition, that was barely a remaster. And they called Mafia 3 Definitive Edition, that was just the same game with DLC. So it could be any of those. Probably going to be in the middle. So they have to move engine, which makes it sound difficult because it's so old, these games. I don't think we're going to get like a Crash Bandicoot Spiral level, like, like a real visual overhaul. I think it's going to be tweaks. I think they're going to look like PS2 games. You can get these games on PS4, so also PS5 already as PS2 classics, and they're already 1080. So there are already up-res versions of these games, but not anymore as of like this week sometime. I think still you can get them, but maybe in a couple of days you can't. So if you want those, get them. They do include trophies. That tells me it's going to be more than just a straight up-res, because that's already happened some years ago. So presumably they're going to be 1440p or 4K, 60 frames, slightly better lighting, shadows, maybe some slightly tweaked character models, but there's only so much you can do. You can't have like a really realistic character in this dodgy PS2 world, so they can maybe just slightly pretty it up. And modern controls, because I think, as I said a few eps back, if you try to play a PS2 GTA game now, you just can't. Like, the controls are all over the place. This is like before twin sticks as we know them now were standard. Shooting is all over the place, so I think they've got to modernize that. I think that's pretty much a guarantee. Otherwise, I don't know what they're going to do. I think it's going to be pretty bare bones besides that, and we will probably pay for it.
Absolutely. I couldn't give you a really good reason why I thought that, Alan Wake Remastered was amazing, and I would happily pay $60. I didn't pay for that. I got it as a review copy, but I would have happily paid $60 for it. So I'm sure there's a lot of Grand Theft Auto fans who do the same, especially for a modernized version of that hot coffee thing, right? That was in San Andreas.
Yeah, well, it's probably the only thing they're definitely going to cut. There is a version of San Andreas on Series X because it's on 360 and it's backwards compatible, but that is actually a port of the Android game. Like, it's not even the real San Andreas, so it does look better because the mobile versions look better than the 360 or the Xbox original, but very lazy of Rockstar just to be like, here's the mobile game on Xbox. Like, so hopefully they don't do that. one thing worth noting is this is coming to Switch, so it's the first 3D GTA game on a Nintendo handheld. Never happened before. Presumably just because like GameCube era, they didn't think it would sell. They didn't bother to put it on there. Like GameCube, Xbox, similar sales. It did go to Xbox, didn't go to GameCube. It must just be because they thought not worth it because of the audience. And they finally decided it is worth it. So I don't imagine it's going to run that well on Switch. But if you wanted to play it for the first time, it's not the first handheld time because you can play it on your mobile as well. But it's the first time on a Nintendo platform. So that is a milestone.
Yeah. What GTA 3's 20th anniversary, I think, I could be wrong, something like that, is in October, so, or late October. So like I don't think it's going to hit that release, but I think it's sometime this year. It'll be November. It'll be before Black Friday, you would reckon, because they'll try to make money hand over fist.
Very late announcement, but that's how things go now.
Well, they know it's going to print money, so they're not really concerned, to be honest. I think that's about it.
That's it.
Something that Ubisoft has announced, I guess, to try to make money hand over fist, and it's not really worked out for them very well, is the announcement of Ghost Recon Frontline, which is yet another Battle Royale, yet another Ghost Recon game. Tom Clancy's game that's using like cross Tom Clancy platform characters in this weird mashup that maybe not be, isn't true to the Tom Clancy's brand that people want to know it for. It was announced on the 6th of October. There was supposed to be a PC test sometime this month, and that PC test has now been delayed, and Ubisoft hasn't said why, but I would think it's largely because of like the overwhelming negative fan response to this game's announcement. Do you have room in your life for a battle royale, let alone this one, Ben?
No, because we got into Apex for a while, and if I was going to go back to one, that's the one I'd go back to. So Ubisoft released Ghost Recon. What was it even called? Begins with a B. Breakpoint. The last one they released, Breakpoint. That's it. And after that, that pretty much flopped. Again, a game that played perfectly well, but it wasn't for anyone. Like, it was not for the people. It was too kind of broad for the Ghost Recon fans, and it was too Ghost Recon-y for people who wanted that solo. Like, it just didn't have an audience. And they said they were going to reevaluate their whole strategy based on that not doing well, and they seem to have just done it again. Like, they've gone with here's a battle royales are popular right now, let's try again. They've already tried before. Like, there's not a room for another one. Like, COD's just going to dominate it. Battlefield will have a crack. Apex is doing well. I don't know if PUBG is still around, but it's there. You got Fortnite. Right. Like, there's so many things.
But the people who are investing all of their time and energy and spending all this money that Ubisoft thinks it's going to get from people who are spending money on Apex or on Warzone, they're already in Apex and Warzone spending money and like have years of progression at this point. They're not just going to go, ooh, a rather generic looking Ubisoft Battle Royale with like no discernible uniqueness, like, the abilities in Apex, or like, well, I guess Call of Duty is just like more Call of Duty for free. Like, that's kind of all it needs. It's doing well. I don't know who this game is for. It's certainly not for the people wanting like a Splinter Cell game that they never get.
That's it. The only thing I'm hearing from all Ubisoft fans is give us Splinter Cell, and they like, no. What you guys want is Ghost Recon Battle Royale, and they seem to be trying to tell their fans what they want as opposed to listening to them.
You want X Defiant. Oh, you didn't want X Defiant? Okay, you want Frontline then, right? Yeah, right? No. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's, that's it. The whole strategy is all over the place at the moment. It just seems to be against what the player base wants. Like, Valhalla was great. Like, it's not like they haven't had a great game for a while. That was great. Immortals Phoenix Rising was great. They've had some hits, but they just also seem to be unsure of what the player base who like those Ubisoft style games, because a lot of them are very similar, want. They're trying to obviously go in a different direction, and the market is pushing against that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm like a big Ubisoft stan, but not of late. Like, things that they've made sometimes aren't for me, like For Honor. Like, no. Cool. I like that people like it, not for me. But like, this new strategy to, make all these free-to-play things and like still kind of do some AAA stuff, but like all the AAA stuff they're doing seems to be the same, like, see aforementioned rant about a mini-map with 70 million icons. Like, it's just, there's not a lot of variety. It just kind of seems like They're doing like market research to like what ticks boxes and like, oh, we'll make this game now, rather than like being creative and doing something that I'm excited for. So I hope that changes soon, but it seems like it's going more to that route instead of away from that route, which is sad. I'm not even doing my little try to trick I'm doing to bring up like you don't know this, Ben. On Twitch right now, I have like the little square of the stories that we've been talking about popping up, but I'm not going to do this for this because this is like, I don't even think we have anything to say about this, but this fortnight in Halloween events, we've got Halloween events for Destiny 2, Star Trek Online, Overwatch, Rainbow Six Siege, and probably like 7,000 more games, which I have not noted down, but like, if you like Halloween themed events, like, you must be in heaven right now. Or in hell, because it's Halloween.
Yeah, well, I'm in Australia, so I don't really care about Halloween.
Fair enough.
Not really a big thing.
Well, yeah. Over in Adelaide, where it's okay, we're in Melbourne, like, we're just so used to wearing masks, it's not even fun anymore. It used to be fun to put on a mask for Halloween. Now it's just like a day-to-day occurrence.
I don't. Everyone wears masks here. It's all about masks. We can just go outside in our masks.
Oh, that's right. You can leave your house.
Have to stay in your house with it. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Enjoy Halloween, people. Something that I just think is awful, and I wanted to talk to you about. How much of an Avengers player are you, or were you? Not much, from what I recall.
No, not heaps. I played through like most of the main story, but then it was too like looty and like you need to grind to get more stuff. And I was like, yeah, they should have just made this a single player campaign.
Yeah, well, if you've not been keeping up, Ben, let me tell you what's been going on. About March, I believe, of this year, they being Crystal Dynamics, the game's developer, released a statement saying they were changing the way in which players would earn XP because it was too easy for players to level up quickly. So they've kind of basically increased the grind. Flash forward to now that the game's on Xbox Game Pass and accessible to a lot more people, presumably, they have introduced microtransactions that let you level up easier, as long as you don't mind paying for the privilege to do so. And obviously that's not really gone well. That's not gone over well with people who have been paying attention to the news. I think it's really gross and garbagey, to be honest. I just wanted to slap Avengers on the wrist for that. I don't know if you have any thoughts about the matter.
This is Square Enix is pulling a classic EA 2K double here. Let's just nickel and dime people. I did see it was in the top 3 of Game Pass games or something. Like the only thing which beat it was I think Minecraft and FIFA, which is technically there because of EA Access or EA Play, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
So doing really well from that point of view. I can see why I would think Microsoft would go after more games like this because there's obviously a demand for it and it props up kind of the big names which they can't have every month. But yeah, disappointing that around that same time they found another way to get money out of those people.
Yeah. Well, and so like Avengers has come a long way, and then it's taken a giant step or two backwards from when it was first released. We slammed it because it was kind of buggy and gross and broken. They fixed a lot of the bugs that like I complained about when it came out at launch. But like it's one of those games where it's Game Pass. You're not paying for it. If you haven't paid for Avengers and someone's like, should I play Avengers? And they can access it via Game Pass, I'd be like, yeah, give it a go. Like, it's Avengers. Like, you can be Thor, you can be Iron Man. And, like, you might, if you're a Marvel fan, might get a lot out of that. And especially if you're doing it for free, like, have at it. It's like, it's kind of Destiny Light for Avengers with Marvel. Yeah. Great, do it. It works for that. It doesn't work for the likes of, like, an Outriders, I think. Because it's just, like, this weird kind of generic-y, also looter shooter Destiny kind of clone, but like with random people that you don't know about, and it's not like you're controlling Thor, you're controlling weird guy from outer space or something. So it suits some games more than others, but then like I don't know. I liked the way that they were talking about all the microtransactions in the game. Like you can buy cosmetics if you want, and Lord knows there's 1,000,000 cosmetics in this Avengers game because you can look like the Thor from the Avengers 2 movie, and you can look like Black Widow from the Black Widow movie. Like, if you like this game and want to spend money, there's ample opportunity to spend money, but you don't need to add this extra layer to it, is, I guess, where I want to sit.
Yeah.
Can you buy microtransactions on Game Pass games? I don't know. I just assumed you could. That's a question.
Yes, absolutely. You get, I think, 10 or 20% off DLC within a Game Pass game. because I obviously want you to buy those things. Most Game Pass games don't include any, certainly not DLC, and obviously not microtransactions either. So actually, that's the point. Maybe you don't get it off a microtransaction, but you definitely do if you buy like a DLC add-on in the
Yeah.
Xbox Store for a Game Pass game.
I can't. Yeah, well, that was the question. I don't think we have a definitive answer, but I would assume you could as well.
Not a fact-based show.
Well, I don't own Dead by Daylight on anything, but I've bought all the DLC packs for it, so I could play the DLC packs. So maybe that's different than a microtransaction. I can't imagine how, but
no, I don't think so.
Again, not a fact-based show. So sorry, we didn't answer the question at all.
See, I'm certain you can, because people will play FIFA and they want to get those Ultimate Team dollars, so they definitely have microtransactions in them.
Nice. Well, there you go. One more piece of news. It's more like fluffy than anything else, Ben. But hey, why not toot our own horn when we can? The Game Awards returns with an in-person event if you're in Los Angeles. Obviously, we are not. On the 10th of December. I don't know if I said the date. I got sidetracked by us being in lockdown still. We being Stevivor are for I don't know how many years now, 3 or 4 or 5, God, maybe more. We're a Game Awards voting member of the jury, so that's cool. Right. Go us. So we'll be nominating and voting on games, and you'll find out which ones we helped select as this year's winning crop in early December. Congratulations, yay Ben, yay us.
Well, it's fun. I enjoy doing it. There's like, it sounds like a lot when you say, I think there's 90 or 95 judging outlets around the world. But when you say that second part, around the world, the fact that we're one of those, and there's only 3 in Australia. So also congrats to Press Start and OzGamers. So good that Australia gets 3. A lot of, I think Canada has 1.
Well, we can pull double duty. Surely we can take credit for both.
Yeah, well. You're under the Australian flag on the official site, mate. So
well,
that's where you're going.
I've spent more time here than there now. It's official. Anyway, yes, that's it. Ben, anything else you wanted to say before we finish up for this fortnight's epic?
No, that's it.
Action-packed thing.
We've had lots of games. We've had lots of games we've enjoyed. So get out and play any of those.
And there's more coming. God, it's that fun / horrific time of the year where I'm just very, very tired. How do we find you on the internet, Ben?
Ben_Salter on Twitter, and yourself.
That's right, AU on things. Like I said before, if you're watching on Twitch, I put the things in the wrong place. So if you want to go follow Ben at SRightAU. That would be fun. Anyway, thanks for joining us. If you were on the Twitch stream watching us live, I'm sorry. This was probably awful and you're probably grimacing, but thank you. I had fun. If you have feedback that's nice, let us know what you think and how I can try to be better at this, but no promises at all. If you're listening on the podcast, this didn't make any sense, but whatever. Thanks for listening on the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, that's cool too. We're just giving you options.
That's it. This is only episode 187, so we're still teething. We'll get there eventually.
By 210, it'll be adequately better. Probably
maybe
not.
360.
All right. Well, Ben didn't show us his dog. Jay wants to see your dog. Send him a photo of your dog afterwards.
Yeah,
and
it's far away.
We'll see you next fortnight. Thank you.
Yeah.